Hi guys, so we're in Unit 5, Lesson 4. We're talking about plant food, soil, and fertilizers. Okay, so we just talked about how plants are reproduced and how they start growing from a seed, right? So from germination, seeds grow toward stimuli. Stimuli is typically going to be like sunlight. So a tropism is a growth response to a stimulus, but the stimulus can vary. So you may have heard of like phototropism. That's where the plants go to light. Different parts of the plant may experience tropism in different ways. The root tip of the plant experiences negative phototropism, so it moves away from light. That's why it's down under the soil. Stem experiences opposite of both of these. It grows away from the soil and towards the light. So if you ever watch sunflowers, that's why they're called sunflowers. So when they're quite large, you can see the tropism. The flowers will turn towards the sun to face the sun at all times to soak up all of that energy to convert to sugar. So it says if you're growing a plant from a cutting, that's if you cut a piece off of that plant, you can use a rooting powder to help it grow. I've used this before. It's a growth hormone. You just dip it in there, and then you put the cutting in the soil, and it just kind of gives it a boost. So photosynthesis. Okay, so that's where plants are using the sunlight's energy, converting it into sugar, using their chloroplast to feed energy to that plant. So the plant's going to make its own food through photosynthesis. It's going to need carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight. So all the green plant tissue is capable of photosynthesis. So that's anything green in there. Photosynthesis is divided into two processes. You have light and dark. So light is when the light reacting with pigments in the leaf causes water molecules to split. It's called photolysis. Oxygen is a byproduct. So they give off oxygen. That's the reason trees and other green plants are important, because they help turn carbon dioxide into oxygen through this process. And we breathe oxygen, so that's why it's great to have plants around in your house or wherever. Dark photosynthesis is called the Calvin cycle. So during a single Calvin cycle, 3 carbon atoms are placed into a sugar molecule, and that's what provides food for the plant. Both very important. Light is going to help create the oxygen from carbon dioxide. Dark is going to help create the sugar. More sunlight means more photosynthesis. It helps plants grow quickly. They love sunlight. Think about summer crops like tomatoes, corn, and squash. They are produced in the warmest, sunniest days of summer. In July, June, that's whenever we're going to have our highest yields in our crops in Texas. So getting to know your soil. Soil is a super huge part of growing plants. It's made up of 4 materials. So it's going to be made of mineral solids, which are fragments of stone, silt, clay, or sand. The proportions are going to define the soil. There's people, you can go to college and become a soil scientist, just studying the different types of soil, knowing what's going to grow better in what soil, how to test different soil. Water is essential for the life of soil. They can't live in something that's super dry. No bacteria or microbes are going to live in it. Air. You need air. You need porous soil. That means air is in the soil. It's not super packed. And organic matter. That's any matter that originated from living organic source. Think of this as like innate fertilizer. Okay, so manure, compost, very dead matter is fully decomposed. Okay, pH. Just like water, soil needs to have great pH levels, and that's what soil scientists are going to check. You can go to your county extension office, and you can take them your soil, and they will test it, or you can buy a kit at a hardware store and test the pH. So it's going to tell pH and nutrient levels. Nutrient levels are determined by how much organic matter is in the soil. Soil pH tells you how acidic or alkaline, remember that's base, the soil is. You've probably used a pH test if you've got a pool or a friend has a pool testing it, or in a science class. So it's the same thing. So areas with more rainfall typically are going to have more acidic soil than with less rainfall. So preferred is 6.2 to 7. So if they're below 7, they're acidic. Above is alkaline. So that's kind of the sweet spot. So you can change different things in your soil to make it more balanced. So many plants are relatively tolerant of more alkaline or acidic soil. However, some have special requirements. One example is hydrangeas. Okay, hydrangeas are really pretty flowers. To produce blue flowers, to make a hydrangea blue, you need to have the soil pH of 5 or lower. At a higher pH, the plants will grow and they'll flower, but they'll be white. So that's a really cool fact that the pH can change the color of that plant. And there's a picture of a blue hydrangeas. They're so pretty. I love using hydrangeas. So soil doesn't provide all the nutrients that a plant needs. They require 6 different nutrients. 3 of them are available from air and water, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. 3 are other essential nutrients that may not be available in that soil, or they may be there. So their ones are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And a great way to remember this is NPK. Their name or their initial for the periodic table. So N is nitrogen. So that helps plants make proteins. These proteins are needed to fuel the plant growth and produce new tissue. So if a plant has too much nitrogen, it's going to make too much foliage, and it's not going to produce seeds. If a plant has too much nitrogen, typically you're going to see a lot of yellowing on the plant leaves. This means you need to back off of that. Phosphorus, that stimulates plant root growth. So improves vitality, helps the plant flower, and increases the seed size. And potassium supports increased vigor of the plant and provides disease resistance. So you can see how these are all important. And they also need amounts of calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. And then I'm going to talk about fertilizers. There's 2 different types. There's organic and synthetic. Organic is something that is natural. So manure and compost are going to be the main sources of organic fertilizer. They slowly release into the soil. They're not water soluble. Manure and compost are really popular. Cow manure is really common and popular. Rabbit and even large herbivore manure can also be used. Some zoos sell elephant dung to use in the garden. So there you go. Get you some elephant poop from the zoo for your garden. Synthetic are man-made. Okay, so these are water soluble and accessible to the plant immediately. So they don't have to be broken down. They're effective when they're applied early in the spring. You can buy these from farm supply stores, garden centers. Just make sure you follow the instructions. They're safe. Just follow the instructions. Some people don't like them. That's why organic produce is in a different aisle than the other produce. So organic typically takes a little bit longer to produce, and they can have more problems. And you can't use pesticides or anything like that. So that's why they cost a little bit more.